Imagine this: a man walks away from a woman who gave him everything. Days turn into weeks, and then, something shifts. He finds himself inexplicably drawn back to her, not out of guilt or obligation, but because she lingers in his mind. Why does this happen? Why do some women remain unforgettable while others fade away? Many women believe that physical intimacy alone is enough to secure a man's devotion. But the truth is, attraction isn't just about what a woman gives, it's about what she commands after she has given. This isn't about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about understanding the deep psychology of attraction and the instincts that drive men's behavior. A woman's power lies in her self-worth, her ability to maintain her identity, and her emotional strength, even after intimacy. Today, we're breaking this down step by step. If you've ever felt confused about why men sometimes pull away or why they come back after some distance, this will help you understand. Whether you're dating, in a long-term relationship, or simply interested in the dynamics of human connection, this knowledge is for you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes a woman truly unforgettable. More importantly, you'll learn how to embody the kind of confidence and emotional security that naturally draws men in, not by force, but by choice. Let's dive in. Many women assume that once they share intimacy with a man, he will naturally feel more attached. This belief is based on the idea that physical closeness automatically leads to emotional connection. But reality tells a different story. Men and women often process intimacy in completely different ways. While women may see it as a deepening of emotional bonds, men do not always make the same immediate connection. Instead, they might pull away, not because they don't care, but because they need space to process their feelings. Take the example of Alex and Sophie. They had been dating for a few months, and everything seemed perfect. Sophie gave her all emotionally and physically because she truly believed that their connection would naturally lead to commitment. But after a few weeks, Alex became distant. He stopped texting as often, seemed distracted during their conversations, and didn't make as much effort to see her. Sophie panicked. She started overanalyzing every message, wondering what she had done wrong. She reached out more, trying to reconnect, but the more she chased, the more distant Alex became. What went wrong? It wasn't that Alex lost interest overnight. It was that the dynamic between them shifted. Sophie believed that intimacy should have sealed their bond, while Alex instinctively needed space to process his emotions. Instead of letting him come forward, Sophie unknowingly pushed him further away by seeking constant reassurance. This situation happens to many women. They believe that the depth of their love and care should be enough to keep a man close. But the truth is, attraction is not just about giving, it's about creating the right balance of closeness and space. To truly understand why some women remain unforgettable, we must first recognize that intimacy alone does not secure commitment. The real key lies in what happens afterward. One of the biggest mistakes women make after intimacy is seeking immediate reassurance. They text first, overanalyze his responses, and try to gauge his level of interest. This behavior often comes from a place of insecurity, a fear of being forgotten or replaced. But here's the truth: attraction grows in space, not in suffocation. Men are wired to value what they must work for. This is a fundamental psychological principle that has existed throughout history. When something is too available, it is taken for granted. When there is an element of uncertainty or mystery, the mind becomes preoccupied with it. Imagine two books sitting on a shelf. One is free, available anytime with no effort needed to take it. The other is a limited edition, rare, and requires effort to obtain. Which one do people naturally value more? The same applies to human relationships. When a woman creates natural space after intimacy, not out of manipulation but out of self-respect, she activates a man's deep-seated instinct to pursue. This does not mean ignoring him or playing hard to get. It means shifting the focus back to yourself. It means not sitting around waiting for his next move. Instead, you continue immersing yourself in your own life, your passions, and your goals. You make it clear through action that while you enjoy the connection, your world does not revolve around it. This approach does two things. First, it forces a man to feel your absence. When he reaches out and finds you genuinely busy, when he realizes you are not anxiously awaiting his attention, he begins to miss you. He starts wondering what you are doing, why you are not immediately available, and most importantly, whether he has fully won you over. That uncertainty fuels attraction. Second, and more importantly, it communicates your value. A woman who does not rush to seek validation is a woman who understands her worth. She is confident that she is enough with or without his presence. That level of self-assurance is intoxicating. The most magnetic women are those who know how to balance closeness with independence. They engage fully in the moment but do not lose themselves in it. After intimacy, they do not become overly available. They maintain their standards, their boundaries, and their sense of self. And that is what makes them unforgettable. A woman's self-worth is her greatest magnet. It is not her looks, her words, or even how much she cares. It is the way she carries herself, the way she values her own presence. Many women believe they need to prove their worth to a man after intimacy. They go out of their way to show how loyal, supportive, or loving they can be, hoping he will see their value and stay. But this approach often backfires. The truth is, a woman's value is not something she needs to prove, it is something she needs to embody. What do high-value women do differently? First, they do not chase validation. They do not anxiously wait for a man's call, text, or attention. They are not glued to their phones, wondering if he will reach out. Instead, they trust that if a man truly values them, he will make an effort. Second, they remain engaged in their own lives. They have their own passions, interests, and social circles. They do not drop everything for a man. They understand that a relationship should be a complement to their life, not the center of it. Third, they set boundaries without fear. They do not accept less than they deserve just to keep a man around. They know that if someone cannot meet their standards, they would rather walk away than settle for less. Take the example of Rachel. After a painful breakup, she decided to focus on herself. She went back to school, built her career, and started traveling. She no longer obsessed over what men thought of her. Months later, her ex suddenly reached out. He saw her thriving and suddenly wanted to be part of her world again. But Rachel was no longer the same woman who once waited for him. She had grown into someone who knew her worth, and that made her even more desirable. This story is not unique. Many women find that the moment they stop chasing, the moment they start choosing themselves, men start coming back. Not because they played games, but because they exuded a quiet confidence that men cannot resist. Why does this happen? Because self-worth is rare in a world where many people seek external validation. A woman who is self-sufficient and emotionally secure stands out. Men do not fall for women who need them, they fall for women who choose them but do not rely on them for happiness. So, if you want to be truly unforgettable, stop trying to prove your worth. Instead, own it. Be the woman who knows she is valuable with or without a man. Be the woman who is a prize, not the one chasing after love. Because the moment you realize your worth, the right man will too. Many women let their emotions take control after intimacy. They overanalyze a man's every move, decode his texts, and sometimes even react preemptively out of fear of being abandoned, ignored, or undervalued. But here's the truth, men are drawn to women who embody emotional stability and self-control. A woman who has mastered her emotions does not let anxiety dictate her actions. She does not spiral into self-doubt or demand immediate validation. Instead, she operates from a place of calm confidence, understanding that intimacy is not a guarantee of commitment but an opportunity to observe, assess, and decide whether this man is truly worth her energy. This level of detachment is not about being cold or distant. It is about maintaining personal power. Men live in a world of constant pressure, career demands, financial responsibilities, unspoken expectations from society. The last thing they want is to feel emotionally trapped in a relationship that drains them. That is why a woman who is emotionally composed becomes a sanctuary. She is not easily shaken by uncertainty. She does not react impulsively to a delayed text or sudden shift in his mood. Instead, she holds her ground, showing that she is not dependent on his validation for her emotional well-being. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending not to care. It means expressing emotions with intention, not desperation. When something bothers her, she communicates it with grace, not panic. When she is happy, she shares her joy freely but does not depend on his response to sustain it. When he pulls away, she gives space rather than chasing after him. This kind of self-assurance makes a man respect her deeply. He sees that she is not like other women who crumble under uncertainty. Men often test women without even realizing it. They test to see if she remains composed when plans change, if she can handle distance without falling apart, if she trusts in herself enough not to seek constant reassurance. And the women who pass these tests, they are the ones who become unforgettable. So, after intimacy, control your energy. Do not rush to define the relationship or seek external proof of his affection. Instead, sit in your confidence. Your worth is not determined by how quickly he reaches out, it is determined by how unshaken you remain, no matter the outcome. Because a woman who can master her emotions is a woman who commands respect, and a man will always return to the woman he respects. After intimacy, many women fall into the trap of overcompensating. They text more, give more, and try harder to show how much they care. They believe that by proving their loyalty, they will secure a man's affection. But the truth is, less is more. Nonchalance is not about being indifferent or playing games. It is about having a deep-rooted sense of self-worth and understanding that a woman does not need to convince a man of her value. Think about this: the most captivating women in history, the ones that men chase, admire, and never forget, are not the ones who beg for love. They are the ones who carry themselves with quiet confidence. What does nonchalance look like? She does not flood his phone with messages after intimacy. She lets things unfold naturally. She does not disappear to manipulate him, she simply continues living her life as she always has. She does not panic if he does not respond immediately. She trusts that what is meant for her will come. Men are wired to pursue, to wonder, to feel challenged in a way that excites them. When a woman is too predictable, too available, too eager to please, she removes the very thing that fuels attraction, mystery. Imagine two women. One sends multiple texts after a date, checking in, over-explaining how much she enjoyed the night. The other simply says, "I had a great time," and carries on with her day. Which one do you think lingers in his mind longer? A woman who embraces nonchalance does not need to force a man to chase her. He will do it naturally because she carries herself in a way that makes him want to. So, if you want to become the kind of woman that men always come back to, master the art of nonchalance. Do not rush to seek validation. Do not overanalyze his every move. Instead, assume your worth. Because when a man senses that you could have him but do not need him, he will chase you, not because you forced him to, but because he wants to. And that is the difference between a woman who is forgotten and a woman who is unforgettable. Too often, women make the mistake of shifting their entire focus onto a man after intimacy. They start adjusting their schedule to fit his, waiting for his text, and unknowingly placing their emotional well-being in his hands. This kind of unconscious dependency creates pressure, and men can feel it. They may not be able to explain it, but they instinctively withdraw, not because they do not care, but because something about the dynamic has changed. The most magnetic women are those who have their own direction, their own purpose, and their own life outside of any relationship. Men are naturally drawn to women who have something bigger than just love, whether it is a passion, a goal, or a sense of fulfillment that comes from within. Why does this work? When a man meets a woman who is self-sufficient, he realizes she is not looking for him to complete her. She is already whole. She does not anxiously anticipate his next move. She does not rely on his attention for happiness. She does not make him the center of her universe. Instead, she keeps nurturing her career, her hobbies, her friendships, and most importantly, her relationship with herself. This self-containment is what keeps a man's interest alive. Because when a man realizes that a woman's happiness is not dependent on him, he starts to value her more. Think about it, a man is far more likely to chase the woman who is thriving without him than the woman who is waiting for him to decide if she is worthy of his time. Take Emma, for example. She was in a relationship where she constantly made herself available, always accommodating her boyfriend's schedule and needs. Over time, she noticed that he started taking her for granted. She realized that she had slowly put her own goals and interests on hold for the sake of the relationship. So, she decided to shift her energy back to herself. She started prioritizing her personal goals, taking time for her passions, and living her life as if her happiness did not depend on his presence. The result? Her boyfriend suddenly became more attentive, more interested, and more engaged. He saw her in a new light, not as someone waiting for him, but as someone who had a full, rich life with or without him. The key takeaway: men do not stay because a woman is desperate for their love. They stay because they see a woman who is already thriving, a woman they want to be around, not because she needs them, but because she chooses them. So, if you want to be truly unforgettable, build a life so full and rich that a man cannot help but want to be part of it. Because when a man knows you do not need him, he will work to earn his place in your life, and that is a position he will never take for granted. Most people misunderstand gratitude in relationships. They assume that showing appreciation means forming an emotional attachment, that expressing warmth and kindness equates to expecting something in return. But a high-value woman understands something deeper: true gratitude is given freely without the weight of expectation. And it is this paradox that makes a man feel an irresistible pull toward her. Why do men pull away after intimacy? Many women unknowingly create pressure after intimacy by treating the experience as a transaction. They assume that physical closeness should lead to deeper emotional commitment. When that commitment does not happen immediately, they feel disappointed or even resentful. Men sense this shift in energy. They might not be able to articulate it, but they feel it. They recognize when a woman is attaching expectations to them, and that unspoken demand for reassurance makes them withdraw. Contrast two women's approaches. Scenario 1: after an intimate moment, a woman begins subtly seeking validation. She asks where things are going, whether he sees a future, or why he has not texted yet. Even if her words are gentle, her energy signals that she is waiting for him to prove something. Scenario 2: after the same experience, another woman simply expresses gratitude. She acknowledges the moment, appreciates it, and then effortlessly continues living her life, engaged in her passions, friendships, and personal growth. She does not need reassurance because she already knows her worth. Which woman do you think a man feels a stronger pull toward? Gratitude without attachment creates emotional freedom. When a woman expresses appreciation without clinging to an outcome, she sends a message that she is whole on her own. She does not use gratitude as a tool to manipulate or secure commitment. She simply acknowledges the experience for what it was and lets it flow naturally. This relaxed confidence does two powerful things. 1. It disarms a man. He expects pressure but instead finds peace. 2. It makes a woman unforgettable because she does not behave like every other woman who is anxiously waiting for more. When a man sees that a woman can share deep moments without losing herself in them, he will return, not because she demanded it, but because he simply cannot stay away. A woman who commands a man's respect and admiration does not chase, she chooses. She is not the one waiting by the phone, analyzing his every move, or molding herself into what she thinks he wants. Instead, she operates from a place of abundance, knowing that she is the one who decides whether a man is worthy of her energy, time, and affection. Why do women chase after intimacy? After a deep emotional connection, many women unconsciously slip into a scarcity mindset. They believe that because they have shared something personal, they must now secure the man's commitment. They start over-pursuing, over-explaining, or trying to prove that they are worthy of love. But here's the truth: the moment a woman starts chasing a man, she begins losing her power. Men are wired to pursue, it is in their nature. The more a woman leans back, standing firm in her value, the more a man feels compelled to move toward her. What does the queen's mindset look like? 1. She does not beg for attention. She never convinces a man to see her worth. She does not lower her standards out of fear that he will leave. 2. She trusts that the right man will recognize her value without her having to prove it. If he does not, she walks away, not as a tactic, but because she genuinely values herself. 3. She remains the center of her own universe. She does not make a relationship the sole focus of her life. Love must align with her self-worth, not define it. Why does this mindset make a woman unforgettable? When a man realizes that a woman is not afraid to lose him, he begins to see her differently. She becomes a challenge, not because she plays games, but because she knows her worth. He understands that he must step up to be part of her world. So, if you want a man to always come back, step into the queen's mindset. Choose yourself first. Maintain your standards. Because the moment you stop chasing love and start choosing who is worthy of yours, everything changes. Men do not return because of what you gave them, they return because of how you carry yourself after you have given. A woman who knows her worth does not chase. She does not beg for love, nor does she fear losing a man. She understands that her value is not determined by a man's attention but by her own self-respect. The secret to being unforgettable is not about clinging tighter, it is about knowing when to let go. It is about understanding that attraction is fueled by mystery, self-sufficiency, and emotional mastery. The most magnetic women give love freely but do not attach expectations. They allow space for a man to miss them. They stay grounded in their own lives, passions, and happiness. And that is why men always return to these women, not because they need to, but because they want to. If you take one lesson from this, let it be this: you are the prize. The moment you stop chasing and start choosing, you will see a shift not just in your relationships but in your entire life. If this message resonated with you, let it sink in. Embrace the power of choosing yourself first, and watch how your relationships transform. Because the more you understand your worth, the better your connections will become.